I still remember the echo of the lock clicking shut. Not loud, not aggressive, just final. Inside my garage sat a gleaming white BMW, not mine. The HOA treasurer's, Brenda Whitfield, the same woman who once fined a family because their wind chimes were too whimsical. She stood in my driveway that day, red-faced and shaking, pounding on the door as I slid my suitcase into the cab to the airport. "You open this garage, Jake. I am HOA authority here." I didn't raise my voice, didn't argue, didn't even look back. I just said, "Brenda, this time, you picked the wrong quiet man." And as my plane lifted off the runway, I knew, by the time I returned, everything would be different. Before all this, life was slow and simple. I'm an electrician. 12. Years union, steady work, never late on payments, not a troublemaker. After my wife passed, it was just me and my daughter, Lily, 11, soft-spoken, always with a pencil behind her ear because she drew on anything that stood still long enough. Our home wasn't fancy, but it was ours. And the garage, that was my sanctuary. Old radios, motorcycle parts, scrap wires, coffee that tasted like burnt diesel, the good stuff. Neighbors would wave, chat, share tools, a quiet neighborhood, the kind where you know the barking pattern of every dog on the street, except Brenda. Brenda Whitfield didn't wave. She inspected. She measured grass height, photographed recycling bins, and wrote friendly reminders with the sharpness of a court summons. But I didn't bother her, and until one afternoon, she didn't bother me. It was a Tuesday. Warm, sunlight settled on the driveway like honey. I came home from work, tired but calm, ready to unwind. Garage door open, country blues playing low. I was in my element. Then I froze. A BMW SUV was parked inside my garage. Not near it, not blocking it. Inside. I walked around it, confused. Maybe a delivery error? A misunderstanding? That's when Brenda appeared, clipboard tucked under her arm like she was leading a parade. "Oh, Jake. Yes, I needed somewhere to keep my car while the HOA reseals my driveway. Yours was open, so I assumed it was fine." I stared at her, waiting for the joke. "You assumed you could park inside my garage?" She gave a smile that never reached her eyes. "Well, technically, your garage door was left open. That's a violation. So you'll be receiving a notice." She handed me paper, a fine for security negligence. I felt something in me go very, very still. I didn't yell, didn't curse. I just said, "Brenda, move your car." She tilted her head. "No. I'll move it when I'm ready. And I expect compliance, Jake. HOA rules are HOA rules." She walked away, and I realized she wasn't just disrespectful. She was used to winning. That night I sat in the garage, lights off, just the hum of the freezer and the faint smell of oil. I replayed everything carefully. No anger, just clarity. I pulled out my old body cam. I use it for construction site inspections. The next morning, I approached her door calmly. "Brenda, I just want to confirm, you're saying I'm being fined because I left my garage door open and that you're allowed to park inside it?" She smirked and said exactly that. Recorded, clean audio, no yelling. Then I went inside and opened the HOA bylaws file I had stored. I'd read them once before, years back. No rule about garage doors. No rule allowing HOA to use private property. No authority to issue fines without board vote. She had nothing, and I had everything, but I stayed quiet, because silence is where consequences begin. The next few days, Brenda got bold. She walked around like she owned the street, told neighbors I was under HOA disciplinary review, left warnings taped to people's mailboxes, threatened to tow cars that had valid parking permits, but something interesting happened. People whispered, then talked, then shared stories. Mrs. Delgado had been fined $300 for shade discrepancy. Her umbrella was beige instead of tan. The Parkers had been charged $1,200 for a non-existent deck permit review fee. Someone's elderly father got threatened for having a ramp installed for his wheelchair. Brenda wasn't controlling the neighborhood. She was extorting it. And yet, nobody fought back. Because she had fear, power, influence. But fear only works until someone stops being afraid. You see, I don't just repair wiring. I've helped build security networks for federal infrastructure. I know surveillance, data chains, archiving, so I installed 4 discrete cameras around the garage. Motion-triggered, high definition, time-stamped. Then, I locked my garage from the inside and sealed the manual release lever. The BMW was trapped. I packed a suitcase, took Lily to my sister's place, and booked a flight to Boston for a 2-week break. Before leaving, I filed a request for a full financial audit of the HOA, publicly through the county clerk system. Once filed, it cannot be withdrawn, and Brenda didn't know yet. When she found her car locked inside my garage, the unraveling began. The footage was astonishing. Day 1. She knocked, banged, threatened legal action. I ignored her. I was 200 miles away eating clam chowder. Day 3, she brought 2 men with a crowbar. Tried to pry the lock off. Camera caught everything. Day 5, she called a city inspector. He turned out to be her cousin wearing a reflective vest, also recorded. Day 7, her husband showed up yelling in the driveway. Neighbors gathered. Someone filmed. That video got posted online. Day 9, police finally got involved because I filed a property interference alert before I left. When they arrived, Brenda tried to claim I stole her BMW, but the officer reviewing the situation said, "Ma'am, the vehicle is on his property. Without permission, that constitutes trespassing. By you." Then came the audit results and the news trucks. Turns out Brenda and her husband had been overcharging HOA fees, inventing fake violations, pocketing the difference and manipulating board elections. The neighborhood didn't just turn against her. They rose. There were signatures, lawsuits, interviews, depositions. When I flew back home, Brenda's BMW was still in my garage, untouched. Her husband had moved out. She had been removed from the HOA board, frozen accounts, pending criminal charges. I opened the garage door slowly, almost ceremonially. Neighbors stood around, watching. Brenda was there too, makeup gone, eyes hollow. She whispered, "Please, just give it back." I handed her the keys and said only, "You should never have stepped into my home." The neighborhood voted to dissolve the old HOA leadership. We formed a new council, transparent, democratic. We set up a relief fund to help the families Brenda had drained. My garage? People still joke about it. The fortress. The BMW trap. But for me, it's just my quiet space again, where the radio plays, where Lily sketches, where peace lives. Sometimes power isn't about shouting, threatening, or showing teeth. Sometimes power is locking a door and letting the truth walk itself out. So tell me, quietly, honestly, what would you have done in my place? Subscribe for more cinematic justice stories.